Elisa Lam was just a normal Canadian kid. She was born to Hong Kongese parents living in Vancouver, where they ran a restaurant. She studied at the University of British Columbia and, at the age of 21, decided to go on vacation. That's when everything went wrong. Elisa's ill-fated trips would result in one of the creepiest, strangest deaths of the modern age. When she was found floating naked in a water tank a month later, her death would terrify and fascinate people in equal measure. This is the story of the strange death of Elisa Lam. Elisa's vacation was booked for January 2013. She took the Amtrak train south, travelling alone from Vancouver to San Diego. In San Diego, she started doing all the typical touristy things. She took photos at the famous zoo, for example, and shared them on social media. Her trip was going well. She was indistinguishable from the millions of tourists who visit the West Coast every year. Then Elisa booked herself in to the Cecil Hotel in downtown LA. It was near the city's infamous Skid Row, one of the shadier parts of town. Elisa wasn't rich. She was a student, the daughter of a small business owner. The Cecil Hotel was hardly the Ritz. Built for businessmen in the 1920s, it had fallen on hard times. Part of that was the Skid Row location, which became famous in the late 20th century as a destination for the city's down and outs. What's more, the Cecil was wound into the fabric of local folklore. A number of LA's most notorious murders have ties to the Cecil Hotel. It was allegedly the last place Elizabeth Short, victim of the Black Dahlia murder, visited before her unsolved killing. In 1964, a woman named Goldie Osgood, aka the Pigeon Lady of Pershing Square, was raped and murdered in one of the Cecil rooms. Jack Unterweger and Richard Ramirez, both serial killers, had stayed at the hotel. There had been plenty of suicides on site, including one man who jumped from the roof and killed a pedestrian by falling on him. The Cecil Hotel had tried to rebrand, but its reputation lingered. It was one of the city's most notorious destinations. We don't know whether Elisa picked the Cecil because of its reputation or its price, but she decided to stay there during her visit to LA. At first, she was booked into a share room on the 5th floor. After the first night, however, the staff at the Cecil Hotel started to get complaints. There was something wrong with the girl in their room, they said. Elisa was exhibiting strange behaviour. The staff assigned Elisa her own private room after 2 days of complaints. Like many kids who'd grown up after the rise of the internet, Elisa had a blog. She posted about many typical teenage things: fashion, clothing, and details of her life. One of the most frequent themes, however, was mental health. Elisa had been diagnosed with both bipolar disorder and depression. She was on medication for both conditions, though her parents said that she was never suicidal or in danger of taking her life. In the summer of 2012, 6 months before her vacation, she did post about a relapse, how a particular bout of mental health problems had forced her to drop out of a number of classes. But by the time she left for the US, her condition seemed to have improved. Indeed, she talked to her parents every day she was in the States. They seemed happy that their daughter was out enjoying herself. On the 31st of January 2013, Elisa was meant to check out of the Cecil Hotel, bound for Santa Cruz, but for the first time, Elisa failed to check in with her parents. They were worried. When they couldn't contact Elisa, they reached out to the LA police. Elisa Lam was missing. The police began to investigate. Hotel staff remembered seeing Elisa. The girl had been moved to a private room. She'd been alone. The manager of a nearby bookstore also remembered seeing Elisa, who seemed very lively and very friendly. Elisa had been buying gifts for her family. The police's attempt to search the hotel were hampered by legal restrictions. They weren't allowed to search every room, but they searched Elisa's and even brought in dogs to search the public spaces of the hotel, including the roof. After a week of searching for Elisa without finding anything, they upped their game. Police posted flyers around the area and put out calls for help in the media. Another week passed without any progress. Then the police released the last known footage they'd found of Elisa. A CCTV footage came from inside the hotel. It was recorded in one of the Cecil's elevators dated February the 1st. The video caused a sensation both in the Americans and in China. Some people theorized that she was on drugs. Others were sure that she was being chased. The theory that she was having a psychotic episode was popular among many. But the unsettling nature of the video led many people to formulate a paranormal explanation, especially considering the hotel's violent past. As the search for Elisa went on, the video was all people had to speculate about. The search continued. While the police trawled LA for signs of Elisa's whereabouts, the guests of the Cecil Hotel began to complain. The water pressure was low. Some people claimed that it had an unusual taste or colour. On the 19th of February, someone was sent up to check the water tank on the roof. Inside, they found Elisa Lam's naked, drowned body. The tank was drained and cut open. The coroner ruled that she had drowned accidentally, citing that Elisa's mental health issues as mitigating factors. A toxicology report found no drugs in her system other than those she had been prescribed. Her body had no signs of violence, but there were plenty of unanswered questions. No one knew how a young woman with a small frame could have got into the tank. Doors to the roof were locked. Any attempt to force them open would have set off an alarm. Additionally, the water tank was massive. It stood up on a concrete block, at least 8 feet tall. Workers had to use a ladder to access the tank, which they didn't leave on the roof. The earth was also very heavy, seemingly impossible for someone of Elisa's size to move. Furthermore, the police dogs had failed to find any trace of Elisa in the days after her disappearance. People could find no reasonable explanation for the death of Elisa Lam, but that didn't stop them theorizing. Whether it was an accident, a murder, a paranormal event, or a suicide, there was little conclusive evidence. Perhaps strangest of all, however, was Elisa's blog. In the days after her death, it was updated with a new post. The new post wasn't much out of the ordinary, and it could have been scheduled well in advance. But Elisa's phone wasn't found with her body. If anyone is going to solve the mystery of Elisa Lam, her phone could hold all the clues. But until they find it, if they ever find it at all, we only have our theories.